Your brilliance has stretched far beyond the boundaries they thought could contain you. What once felt like a contest has become a playing field only you can navigate, not because you learned their moves, but because you invented new ones they can't even imagine. The schemes that were meant to trip you became stepping stones, each one pushing you higher into a vantage point where their intentions look small and predictable. Now, the space around you is charged with an unshakable certainty. The quiet power you carry dismantles every plan before it touches you, leaving them in a loop of confusion they can't break. Somewhere beyond their awareness, the record of every twist, every shadowed plot, every unspoken doubt about you has been carefully collected. What they shrugged off as random moments now reveals itself as a chain of deliberate alignments. And while they try to trace your path, you're already miles ahead, moving with the kind of precision that feels less like strategy and more like destiny unfolding. They've mistaken your journey for something ordinary, as if you were chasing the same finish line they've been circling for years. While they've been calculating moves on a flat board, you've been rewriting the rules in dimensions they can't even perceive. Their patterns only work on those anchored in fear of loss, yet you've stepped into a current of creation that makes their control games look like outdated rituals. Some have obsessed over mapping your path, searching through fragments of your life as though decoding a riddle could somehow grant them your strength. You didn't stumble here by accident, you were led. If something in your spirit is stirring, don't ignore it. Tap join to access exclusive content, prophetic insights, and a community of purpose-driven souls. This isn't just a membership, it's your moment of alignment. Step into who you were born to be. Welcome to the Chosen. Groups have even gathered under the banner of their shared confusion, baffled at how you rise while their combined weight tries to pull you under. But each attempt to weaken you became a forge, tempering your will. Disappointments that should have caged you only expanded your vision. Personal storms that could have hardened your heart instead refined your understanding of where real loyalty lives. Now, an unseen safeguard surrounds you, an inner clarity so sharp it catches the shadow of a threat before it takes shape. Under the radiance of this awareness, pretense evaporates, false intentions collapse, and the real reason they can't keep up becomes painfully clear. You're operating in a frequency their minds were never tuned to hear. There's a clarity in your perception now that stretches far beyond what they can measure. The range of your awareness has expanded into heights where hostility can't reach, leaving those who once tried to rattle you struggling to make contact. Their efforts have become the equivalent of chasing shadows in daylight, an exhausting pursuit with nothing to show for it. The stories whispered to diminish your worth are beginning to fold in on themselves, weighed down by the reality of your consistency. Influential voices are noticing the difference between something real and something constructed. The natural pull you carry, unforced and unfiltered, is setting a new standard in rooms where imitation has long been mistaken for skill. Those who've built their image on rehearsed charm can no longer stand beside you without the contrast exposing their cracks. And as that difference becomes more visible, the gravity of your presence only increases. Material shifts are occurring with a precision that defies prediction. The flow of resources toward you no longer depends on traditional routes. They're appearing in ways that feel effortless, yet carry the undeniable mark of alignment. Circumstances that once looked locked are opening without struggle, drawn by the resonance you've been cultivating beneath the surface. These changes aren't arriving because you're chasing them, they're unfolding because you've become the place they naturally return to. If you've been touched by God's goodness, don't keep it to yourself. Click Super Thank You and sow a gift of $40 or more to help spread His light. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace, blessing hearts and building His kingdom. Let His overflow pour through you. Those who've spent years monitoring you have built walls around themselves without realizing it. Their fixation has drained the very vitality they needed to evolve, creating blind spots they can't protect. Attempts to borrow your approach have left them burdened with a persona they can't sustain. Under the pressure of keeping up the act, the edges start to fray, and what lies beneath begins to show. It's in those moments that the weight of their own choices becomes unavoidable. The energy meant to stall you has become the very power that carries you forward. Every emotion they've thrown at you has been reshaped into something that nourishes your path. You've learned to transform rejection into resolve, envy into momentum, doubt into certainty. This shift has given your words a resonance that silences resistance, not by force, but by the authority of truth lived fully. When you speak now, the air changes, attention sharpens, and even the most distracted listener finds themselves leaning closer. Ideas that once felt like distant visions are now shaping themselves into reality without resistance, as though guided by an invisible hand. Encounters with people you once only observed from a distance are unfolding naturally, as if they were inevitable all along. The work flowing from you now is carrying an uncanny accuracy, its timing and impact reaching people in ways that shift their perspective entirely, revealing that your role is not merely to create, but to channel something greater than yourself. Your outward glow is evolving in tandem with the depth of your inner transformation, in ways that conventional thinking struggles to explain. It's not the result of frantic attempts to hold on to youth or to cover what's real, it's the visible imprint of alignment, the kind that surfaces when someone fully claims their truth. The changes are undeniable, yet effortless, born from the kind of power that radiates without needing to prove itself. Those around you are noticing something they can't quite define, an unnameable shift in your essence that tells them you've stepped into a new way of being. The bonds forming in your personal life now exist in a space untouched by old chaos, replacing patterns of depletion with connections that expand you. You're no longer being sent lessons disguised as intimacy, you're being met with partnerships that stand as living proof of your healed capacity to receive love without losing yourself. The spaces you inhabit are also changing to reflect this higher state. Whether it's the transformation of your current surroundings or the movement into entirely new landscapes, your environment is beginning to mirror the person you've become. Places that once felt out of reach are now aligning with your path, and every shift in setting feels perfectly timed to meet your next chapter. In the realm of your calling, doors that seemed permanently sealed are opening in ways that defy explanation. Skills you've honed quietly are now in high demand, and seeds planted in years past are finally bearing fruit. Opportunities are approaching you rather than the other way around, drawn by the readiness you've carried all along. Recognition is arriving not as a promise of what you might achieve, but as an acknowledgement of the foundation you've already built. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $40 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The old tensions that once knotted your family ties are unraveling as your presence alters the very tone of interaction. Where dysfunction once thrived, there is now either a willingness to rise into healthier ways of relating or a quiet retreat from those unwilling to shift. What seemed like ingrained cycles of pain are losing their grip, replaced by a higher rhythm you've brought into being, one that will ripple forward through those who come after you, carrying your transformation into futures you'll never have to guard against. The dialogue you have with yourself has undergone a complete rebirth. That inner voice that once second-guessed your every move has given way to a certainty that is immune to the sway of opinion or circumstance. The craving for acknowledgement from those who could never truly recognize your value has faded into irrelevance, replaced by a finely tuned instinct that directs you toward growth and away from compromise. Those who once saw opportunity in targeting you are facing the dawning realization that their chance has evaporated. The unseen safeguard surrounding you reacts before harm can take shape, returning the weight of their intent back into their own experience. Even their silent ill will has begun to echo back with results they can't ignore, teaching them the cost of directing malice toward someone whose path is protected by design. Your joy has become both shield and signal. You no longer shrink in the face of your own blessings, nor temper your celebrations to avoid stirring discomfort. That lightness you carry doesn't just belong to you, it acts as a call to others, proof that fully embracing your own success opens space for them to do the same. In honoring your own expansion without apology, You become a reference point for what liberation looks like. The days of playing small are over. Too much has been invested in your preparation for you to dilute your presence now. Stepping forward in your entirety is not a choice, it's a requirement of the greater design that counts on those who are ready to occupy their place without hesitation. The mental sharpness you've honed has evolved into a kind of foresight, letting you navigate complexity with a precision others can't anticipate. Moves are read before they're made, outcomes are seen before they unfold, and the path ahead bends in your favor because you've learned how to master it from every angle. The way your mind now operates exists far outside the reach of imitation. It's a structure no intruder can decode, a landscape no imitator can navigate. The mimicry that once felt intrusive now feels like a curious performance, watching others strain to duplicate something that originates from a depth they've never dared to reach. They can echo your language, mimic your posture, and borrow your methods, yet they'll never touch the wellspring that fuels you. Every attempt they make only exposes the sharp divide between lived genius and hollow replication. Wealth is moving toward you with a precision that feels deliberate, not random. It's the direct result of recognizing your own value and refusing to invest your time or skill where it isn't honored. When you stopped accepting exchanges that diminished your worth, you created the conditions for resources to gravitate toward you naturally. The flow isn't just a reward, it's a recognition, drawn to the gravitational field of someone who finally stands fully in their own value. Around you now, there's an unseen network of protection and guidance that would be difficult for most to comprehend. Those who came before you, carrying fragments of the same mission, are offering their strength to your steps. Advisors from realms beyond the visible are directing your intuition with precision, while protective forces with a singular purpose are reinforcing your path so that negativity dissolves before it can make contact, and blessings multiply without obstruction. While others repeat the same tired maneuvers, you've been mastering strategies that exist beyond their field of understanding. Their approach only works on those caught in cycles of fear or ego validation, yet you've moved into a space where those levers no longer function. They continue running the same patterns, bewildered by their own lack of results, while you operate on an entirely different plane where their game has no relevance. The confirmation you've been awaiting isn't arriving as a single headline moment, it's revealing itself in layers, each one more undeniable than the last. Day by day, circumstances are rearranging to make your position clear. Those who once opposed you are beginning to see they've been contending with a force far beyond their capacity. Those who underestimated your presence are learning their mistake through experience. The truth of who you are is no longer hidden, it's becoming the story they can't ignore. Looking back now, it's becoming clear that every trial was not random misfortune but a precise step in the architecture of your becoming. Each moment of struggle was the sculptor's hand, shaping a resilience that could not be taught in comfort. Every deception you endured stripped away illusions, leaving only the truth of what you will and will not allow into your space. What once felt like loss was actually the deliberate clearing of ground so that something far greater could be built without obstruction. This is the turning point where those destined to shift the world step fully into visibility. The very fixation that once fueled opposition has locked their gaze on your rise, ensuring they witness every layer of what they tried to prevent. Their efforts to reduce you have only proven the permanence of your light. Decisions beyond human control have been sealed, and the consequences are moving through reality without resistance. What you thought was testing was actually calibration. What you thought was sabotage was strategic placement. The narrative that began with misjudgment is ending with acknowledgement, and there is no power left that can delay what's already in motion. Your ascent has been unfolding with a precision that leaves no room for accident. The forces aligned in your favor have been operating in ways too intricate to track, weaving victories through the very obstacles that were meant to defeat you. The same moments that were designed to drain you have instead charged you with the power to stand unshaken. The time that felt like waiting was actually construction, brick by brick, layer by layer, of a reality that now fully supports who you've become. The sharpness of your perception now eclipses every strategy once used against you. The predictable patterns that others relied on to anticipate your moves have dissolved, replaced by a depth of thinking that can't be charted by familiar means. Every attempt to outthink you became a lesson you absorbed, refined, and used to turn their own momentum back toward them. Your mind has become a living instrument, one that not only defends against intrusion, but rewrites the outcome before they realize the game has shifted. What they once saw as your vulnerability has become the very source of your invincibility. The more they tried to calculate your limits, the more they exposed their inability to comprehend your range. And now, standing at the threshold of this new era, the power you hold is not simply the result of endurance, it is the proof that every setback was a move in a design too vast for them to ever control. The way you engage now carries a depth they can't touch. Every word is chosen with precision, layered in such a way that even when they think they've understood you, the real meaning only reveals itself long after the moment has passed. By the time they attempt to respond, you've already shifted the conversation into territory they can't navigate, leaving them scrambling to catch up to a dialogue that moved beyond them before they knew it began. Attempts to trap you collapse before they even take shape. You've already seen the shape of their intent, mapped their approach, and set responses in place that not only dismantle their strategy but also make their motives visible to everyone watching. The skill with which you detect patterns has reached a level that renders old manipulations ineffective before they leave the ground. What once felt like a challenge now appears to you with the clarity of a story you've read too many times to be surprised by. Their tactics announce themselves so plainly that the real difficulty lies in disguising your awareness of them. Every effort they make to outthink you ends up revealing just how far behind they truly are, exposing the limits they've tried so hard to hide. Your capacity to process and integrate information is operating on a spectrum they can't measure. You connect elements from places they would never consider related, forming conclusions that prove themselves with uncanny precision. The speed at which you move from observation to insight leaves them questioning whether the person they thought they understood ever truly existed, or if they've been dealing with someone far more advanced all along. Your perception has evolved into a skill set that cuts through facades with surgical precision. Every flicker in their tone, every shift in their posture, every subtle hesitation tells you more than their words ever could. The schemes they once believed to be subtle now appear like brightly lit signs, and the urgency behind their probing questions is as clear to you as the motives they wish to hide. What they call conversation, you read as data, streams of information revealing the story they're too afraid to tell. The retaliation they brace for never arrives in the ways they're conditioned to expect. You've stepped beyond the need to counter their hostility head-on, understanding that their own patterns are already delivering them the very consequences they sought to avoid. Your absence from their imagined battlegrounds leaves them aiming blows at empty air, slowly realizing the opponent they prepared for no longer exists. They keep trying to interpret your actions through their own limited worldview, attempting to apply rules you no longer play by. Meanwhile, you are moving in arenas where their methods hold no value, and their inability to predict your choices only intensifies their instability. They grow more erratic while you remain composed, making each moment of your stillness feel like an unstoppable force pressing against them. You now stand in a place where emotional detachment and heightened awareness operate together as a singular power. You can observe without absorbing, act without reacting, and maneuver without revealing your direction. Their reliance on chaos as a weapon collapses when faced with someone who thrives outside the storm entirely. The calm you carry isn't weakness, it's the exact element that dismantles their plans before they form. While they've been busy circling the same arguments and insecurities, you've been absorbing knowledge at a rate they can't match. Every insight you gain multiplies your advantage, widening a gap they have no hope of closing. The more they stay focused on undermining you, the faster you advance beyond their reach, until the distance between your evolution and their stagnation becomes a reality they can no longer ignore. The way your mind processes and merges information now feels almost alien to those watching from the outside. Insights seem to appear in your grasp without effort, leaving them convinced you've tapped into hidden channels they can't find. The truth unsettles them more. You've simply broken free from the mental constraints they still accept as reality, stepping into a mode of thought that operates far beyond the models they've been trained to follow. Your communication has become a craft of layered intention, weaving meanings that operate on levels most will never detect. Every phrase carries multiple purposes: gaining ground, diffusing risk, and setting long-term advantage, all while cloaked in natural conversation. By the time they realize they've been redirected, the moment has long passed, and the outcome you intended is already in place. Your words have become a precise form of redirection, turning attempted attacks into momentum that benefits you. The very experiences they believed would break you have instead enhanced your ability to store and organize knowledge with perfect clarity. Every attempt to twist your recollection has only sharpened your understanding of patterns in human behavior, giving you the foresight to disarm similar tactics before they ever touch you. The cadence with which you choose to reveal what you know is now an art form. You control the rhythm so skillfully that they can never measure the scope of your awareness. Truth is released in carefully timed fragments, enough to shift the landscape in your favor, yet never enough to allow them to predict your full position. This calculated mystery has become a force in itself, ensuring you remain the one setting the tempo while they're left reacting to moves they never saw coming. Your perception has sharpened into an ability that dismantles arguments before they've even taken shape. You spot the hidden intent, the misplaced logic, and the emotional bait instantly, cutting straight to the substance they hope to hide. Attempts to cloud the conversation with complexity now collapse under your precision, as you isolate the real issue and bring it into the open with a clarity that leaves no space for distortion. You approach challenges from dimensions others can't even locate. Every problem is examined through layers that blend instinct, intellect, practical strategy, and emotional insight, allowing you to deliver solutions that not only resolve the moment but dismantle the deeper cycles that gave birth to it. What feels to them like an impossible knot, you untangle with an ease that makes the answer look obvious once you've already revealed it. Your ability to anticipate outcomes has reached a point where their plans feel like reruns you've already watched. It's not mysticism, it's mastery of recurring human patterns so precise that even half-formed schemes are predictable in their trajectory. This foresight leaves them without the element of surprise they once relied on, and the frustration of being perpetually outmaneuvered is beginning to wear through their composure. The beliefs you operate from now are rooted in principles they cannot shake. Your worldview draws on truths that exist beyond their approval or rejection, leaving you immune to the character attacks and subtle manipulations that once might have thrown you off balance. What they hurl toward you now meets a foundation reinforced by lived wisdom, where opinion holds no power over reality. You've also learned to map behavior across a wide spectrum of time, place, and circumstance, spotting patterns that repeat like echoes through history. You can identify the structure of their actions long before they recognize it themselves, leaving them exposed in their own predictability. Every obstacle they introduce becomes raw material for your next breakthrough, as your mind generates paths forward with a fluidity they can't match. The adaptability you've mastered ensures you stay in motion while they struggle to recover from the pace you set. You've learned to function on parallel tracks, presenting one version of yourself to the room while another layer of awareness quietly dissects the hidden motives and unspoken dynamics at play. Every exchange is both conversation and reconnaissance, allowing you to remain warm and engaging while simultaneously crafting strategies that others won't detect until the results are already in motion. The precision with which you now map social interactions gives you the advantage of foresight. You can read the trajectory of relationships, predict shifts in alliances, and anticipate the ripple effects of even minor choices. It's not intuition alone. It's a refined system of observation and analysis that makes you feel as if you've already seen every possible outcome before events even begin to unfold. Your strength wasn't gifted, it was forged in the crucible of their sustained pressure. They built the very environment that tempered you into someone who cannot be destabilized by the same methods they once used with confidence. Every attack that was meant to weaken your resolve instead became raw material for the resilience that now shields you from further harm. Your personal boundaries now act as a living filter, welcoming what serves you while quietly rejecting what doesn't. Negative intentions hit an invisible wall long before they can touch your energy, ricocheting back toward their source. Without access to your space, their hostility no longer disrupts your focus, leaving them caught in the echo of their own projections while you remain unbothered. You speak in ways that operate on multiple levels at once, clear enough for casual listeners, yet layered with meaning for those capable of perceiving more. This adaptability allows you to form connections across a wide spectrum of people without diminishing your complexity. Your style invites collaboration from allies who recognize your depth while avoiding unnecessary clashes with those who cannot yet meet you there. Your refusal to cling to fixed beliefs has become one of your sharpest advantages. You learn faster, adapt quicker, and continually expand the scope of your understanding. While others remain entrenched in outdated frameworks, you keep evolving into new levels of capability, widening the distance between your agility and their stagnation. By merging insights from vastly different eras and disciplines, you've built an intelligence network within yourself that no single field of study could match. The intersections you see are invisible to those locked into specialized silos, allowing you to anticipate developments they never even consider. Their knowledge may be deep in one direction, but yours is wide enough to connect the entire landscape into a system they cannot outmaneuver.